Hey, what's going on? Welcome in. It is the, believe it or not, week 5 edition of Gem State Game Day. Live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. We do Gem State Game Day live every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 o'clock Pacific Time on all of those great destinations we just told you about. This is where we preview the upcoming slate of high school 11-man football games across the great state of Idaho. Welcome in. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring on our panel of experts for tonight. You know him from the North Idaho Prepcast, the one, the only, Ryan Scaggs.
What's going on?
Yo, what's up, Ryan?
Yeah, making it back-to-back week appearances.
Yeah, don't make it happen.
I'm still holding my almost 10 game lead in the standings as far as game picks go, but it's kind of rare. It's kind of weird not winning again. So
that's as the clubhouse leader still in the Gridiron game picks. You have to come on every week and share your knowledge with us. That's it's the cross you have to bear.
Yeah, the sun shines on a dog's rear end every now and then.
That's right. Well, speaking of a dog's rear end, no, I'm just kidding. Let's bring on this guy's really saving our bacon tonight, actually. You know him from the East Idaho Prepcast. It is Sean Kane. Yo, what's up, Sean?
If you didn't get enough of me last night, well, I'm back. You jerks.
That's right. That's right. Nobody else had signed up to do the show except Scaggs and I. So it was going to be like very North Idaho heavy. And then Scaggs texted Sean, and Sean was like, I can't allow that. We got to have some common sense on this forum here. So.
I'll be honest. I said at least need one good looking person on the live feed of the show, right? So right. I mean, we don't have Paul.
Exactly. You know, the GQ rating goes down whenever Paul or Scott Burton are around. So on that note, as you're hanging out with us live tonight, we would love to hear from you, the fans. If you've got a comment about one of the teams we're talking about, you want to give your favorite player, team, or coach a shout out, or you've got a question for the panel, throw it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen. We want to talk to you, the fans. This is why we do it, is for all of the great fans in Idaho. And also tonight, as you're hanging out, if you could, please like, share, and follow. This will help everybody that isn't able to watch Gem State Game Day live find things a little easier on replay. And again, this is on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. And so with that, let's get to it. I always like to share my screen to show the folks at home just how easy it is to navigate IdahoSports.com, all of the great stuff we've got on our website. So there it is. Boom. This is the homepage. When you go to IdahoSports.com, this is what pops up. Let's start with the standings. Let's see where we are in the Class 6A landscape. We'll spend about 15 minutes on each classification. So you go up here to standings and polls, conference standings, and football. And I will zoom in on this so everybody can see the standings nice and bright and clear. Okay, 6A standings, High Country Conference. You see right there, Highland and Rigby both 3-1. Rigby suffered their first loss of the season this past week to Bishop Kelly in a really fun non-conference affair. Highland got a big non-conference win over Lake City. Thunder Ridge is 2-1. Madison 2-2. Everybody's head is above water over in East Idaho. 6A Southern Idaho Conference, there's the Foothills Division and the River Division. We finally get into division play this week, but the early contenders, Rocky Mountain and Timberline, both 3-0 in that Foothills Division. Eagle and Owyhee, both 3-0 over in the River Division. And Capital and Middleton, both 2-1 as well. Everybody else is either 1-2 or 0-3. A lot of parity as you get towards the bottom. And then in North Idaho, the Inland Empire League conference play, league play doesn't begin for some time. Post Falls 2-1, Coeur d'Alene 2-2, Lake City behind the 8 ball once again, 0-3 start to the year for the Timberwolves there. Okay, let's go back to the homepage, IdahoSports.com, and let's check out the games that are coming up this week. Let's go to the Friday Night Flash. This is our live in real time updating scoreboard on Friday night. You see all the games here. As we get scores from around the state, we'll put them in, and you will start to see these scores get updated throughout the evening. And so this is what we've got for the 6A slate on Friday night. I always like to double check, though, make sure we don't have any.
Yes, you do.
Because at Donna Larson Park, there always seems to be a Thursday night game over in that Treasure Valley. And we do have Hawaii traveling to Bora, traveling to Donna Larson Park at Boise State University to play Bora. Interesting to see if Hawaii can improve to 4-0. I don't know if they've ever done that in the short history of their football program. I'd have to go back into the archives and look, but big opportunity for Hawaii to remain unbeaten. Bora is a team that's somewhat young, kind of finding their footing a little bit. They're 1-2, so that's going to be a pivotal game on Thursday night. But let's go back to Friday. And here is the full slate of games. We do have a couple of crossover games between 6A and 5A. Blackfoot and Madison are going to play each other. You've also got Post Falls taking on Lakeland on IdahoSports.com. Otherwise, pretty much 6A affairs. Highland's going to get into conference play with Thunder Ridge. You will have Lake City hosting Gig Harbor, Washington. That's going to be a really tough one. And then, as we mentioned, division play begins in the SIC. Mountain View at Cuna, Centennial at Middleton, Capital at Rocky Mountain, Boise at Eagle, and Meridian at Timberline. Sean, give me one of these 6A games that you're really excited for.
Man, I've got to go to the Blackfoot Madison game. Madison is, 2 points away from being 4-0. They lost to Skyline and Hillcrest by 1 point each. Took care of Bonneville pretty easily and then had that really close field goal game. But yeah, Madison Blackfoot, I find very intriguing. You got Blackfoot, a team that is definitely on the rise, can put up some big points as they did last week against the Pocatello Thunder. So I find that a pretty interesting cross division game with Blackfoot and Madison playing a lot of these games, right? They're all in the same area. But yeah, I find that game really intriguing to see. Can Madison put away a 5A opponent and move on, or does Blackfoot, beat Madison and kind of solidify them up there with a Skyline or a Hillcrest?
Yeah, this is a game where I think it'll tell us more about Blackfoot than Madison necessarily, after Blackfoot lost to Skyline by 2 scores earlier this year. Scaggs, what are you looking forward to? You're going to be broadcasting the Post Falls Lakeland game, so I'm not sure if that's where you're going on the board here, but you've got carte blanche.
I could go there for the 5A, but I might pull the card early because there's some pretty good lineups for the 5A. So I'm going to take that Post Falls Lakeland game. I talked about it in the preseason. If Lakeland can come into this game 4-0, it's kind of setting the table for their season. We've seen them, in years past, their defense has been lights out. It's still lights out. They're averaging 9 points a game. But I think the more impressive piece from the Hawks this year so far has been their offense. They've been lighting it up in the passing game. I don't know the last time I saw a Lakeland quarterback in the top 5 in the state in passing in a while. And so we've and that's nothing taking away from Tamagni, the running back, who's a stud. That's just their offense has been so balanced this year. It's been very impressive to see what they've been able to do. And Post Falls, lost that tough one in a kind of a shootout game with Sandpoint. They got a big win in a shootout with Eastmont last week on Friday night. So the table's kind of set that this, the old Prairie Pig game comes in, and it's going to be an absolute dynamite affair, I think. And the house is going to be packed at Post Falls. It's going to be an awesome night. And once again, I think the last few games, it's come down to the final possession. And we may see that again. I mean, we've had some awesome games between these two the last 3 years, and I think that we're kind of looking at it now. We could be seeing that again.
Yeah, you and I were broadcasting this game last year in Rathdrum, and it was a low-scoring defensive affair. It came down to a couple of big plays that Lakeland was able to break and get the win there. So rematch coming in Post Falls, and yeah, it's a 6A, 5A, but these two, it's a good rivalry. I mean, Post Falls and Rathdrum are like 10 minutes apart from each other. They're not that far, so that's going to be a fun one for sure. Guys, the game I'm excited about is Rocky Mountain hosting Capital. Don't look now, but the Capital Eagles are 2-1. They got a little mojo going. Braden Dudley at quarterback has been fantastic this year. They've got a great receiver in Elliott Track. Capital last year, remember, they went 3-6 in the regular season, won that SIC cross-divisional game in the final week of the regular season to punch their ticket to the playoffs. And so that kind of laid the tone for what I think is going to be a breakthrough season for Capital. We know Rocky Mountain's good. They're the new #1 team in the media poll this week after Rigby stubbed their toe against Bishop Kelly. So I think Rocky Mountain wins this game, but I'm just curious to see how close can Capital keep it. And I think that could tell us a lot about the Eagles moving forward there. Teams that need to win this week, because we're like after this week, guys, we'll be at the midway point of the season, right? Week 5 will be over 10 weeks total in the regular season. Lake City's got to win somewhere. They lost to Highland on Saturday in Pocatello. Yes, it's an out-of-state opponent. It's not going to be easy. They have to start bankrolling some wins if they want to get, they could still win the Inland Empire League, I suppose. But, in terms of an at-large bid, they're really getting behind the 8 ball here. Thunder Ridge is another team. I think if they could get a win over Highland, that might be enough to lift them through the rest of the campaign, knowing that they're going to play Rigby and Madison coming up as well. So big pivotal game for Thunder Ridge as well. They have been the 4th place team the last couple of years, which is no shame. I mean, with Highland and Rigby and Madison all in your conference, certainly there. So those are the games I'm keeping an eye on.
I would look at that Kuna Mountain View game. Mountain View's got to win that game. And I don't know if it's really in doubt or not, but I look for Mountain View, a team that's got the talent. Their offense is pretty potent. But man, they got to take care of business against Kuna. They can't stub their toe or kind of let them hang around. I know that Kuna team's been a thorn in people's side over the last few years, but and then you look at that, the game to me, the one that looks like the trap game of all of them is that Boise Eagle game. If there's any game that could be like, a team overlooking someone, and I don't want to say that about Eagle because they're just a great group of kids and they play insanely hard, but that game right there against Boise, there's talent on that Boise roster. That's the thing. Like, then they're well coached. They're sitting there. Obviously, their record's not the greatest, but you don't want to overlook an opponent and get caught in a game where if it's a low scoring affair and you let Boise hang around. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, now Boise is 1-2, but let's not forget, guys, last Thursday, they had their chance to beat Timberline, a really good Timberline team that we think is pretty good this year. They only lost 20-13. So I'm with you, Scaggs. Trevor Schoolfield, Eli Rich and company. It's a good 1-2 combo. And so we'll see. That good trap game, good call there. I just want to double check and make sure there's no Saturday games among the 6A ranks here. Let's take a look. We got nada. In fact, we may not have any Saturday games. So a couple of 8-man games. So nothing for 11-man football this Saturday, which is good news. That's one less day I've got to check on the Friday night.
Referees take a collective sigh of relief.
Seriously, we've had some games up north get canceled because of lack of referees this year, which always is tough. So, okay, that's what's going on in 6A football this week. Big headline is conference play begins over in that Southern Idaho Conference. Divisional play starts, and then Highland gets into it with Thunder Ridge as well. Big conference matchups for sure. Okay, we will take a break. When we come back, let's break down the 5A landscape, starting with a Thursday night neutral site game that I am very excited to go to. We will talk about that and more when Gem State Game Day rolls on right after this on IdahoSports.com.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
All the way. Go. All the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.
Welcome back to Gem State Game Day on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. Brandon Baney with Ryan Scaggs and Sean Kane as we are previewing Week 5 of the Idaho High School Football Landscape 11-man edition. And friendly reminder, if you're hanging out with us tonight, we would love to hear from you. If you've got comments about the games coming up, or you want to give your favorite team, coach, or player a shout out, let us know. We'll throw it in the chat. We'll throw it up on the screen there. Again, this is the homepage, IdahoSports.com. Let's take a look at the conference standings in 5A football, where we see Minico 2-0. Leading the Great Basin Conference. Twin Falls and Canyon Ridge both 1-0. They're playing pretty soon in the annual Service Bowl game coming up here. And then otherwise, Burley, Jerome, and Mountain Home all still winless this season. We should point out Minico's 2 victories have come against Mountain Home and Jerome. So
pretty soon, Brandon. That game's happening Friday night.
Well, that's called the tease, Ryan.
Okay.
Wow.
I wasn't sure if you were just guessing.
You gotta
or if
let
you
it cook, man. You gotta let it cook a little bit.
Yeah, you got to let that simmer a little.
I
Geez.
thought you were stating that you weren't really sure. So
No.
Wow.
5A High Country Conference, Hillcrest and Skyline both still 1-0. Victories over Blackfoot and Bonneville. Both of those came several weeks ago, where Hillcrest beat Bonneville in the annual Civil War matchup, and Skyline beat Blackfoot by 2 scores there. Idaho Falls and Shelley both 0-3, looking for their first victories of the season. Sean Kane, you are a teacher and coach for tennis at Century High School in Pocatello. The Diamondbacks 4-0. How long can they keep this going, Sean?
And I said this last night. There's a few media outlets around here, and I sent them messages and I said, hey, I could see them going 5-0 a few weeks ago. So I just, if you are listening out there, guys, just know I said that. But it's been great. It's been really fun for a team that it's been rough for a few years, and it's been exciting, and there's a good amount of buzz, and they've got a lot of young good players, right? Justice Magnum, Tito Villano is just killing it at running back, and they have a good mix of some upperclassmen. So it's been a lot of fun at Century as far as that, and just good for the program, and making a little more parity in District 5.
Yeah, Tito Villano last year was a guy who played a lot as a sophomore, and you could kind of see the potential there. And yeah, he's definitely a stud back there at running back. Pocatello's 1-2. They are off the schneid with a win over Idaho Falls 2 weeks ago. Preston 1-3. Southern Idaho Conference, guys. This is how we all saw it. Columbia, Emmett, Valley View, all 1-0 in conference play. Bishop Kelly hasn't played a conference game yet, but they are 3-0 overall, including a double-digit victory over Rigby last week. That was the real head turner statewide. Ridgeview, Skyview, Nampa, all 0-1. I have to concede here. I was very high on Nampa in the preseason. 0-4, 0-1. They lost to Columbia last Friday. Maybe Nampa's not where I thought they were there. So that's what's going on in the Southern Idaho Conference. Caldwell playing their independent schedule. They're 0-3. And then up north in the Inland Empire League, Lakeland and Sandpoint, both 4-0. Let's get it. Lewiston 1-3. Finally did get their first win of the season in the annual Battle of the Bridge last week over the Bantams from Clarkston. In the chat, guys, Kevin Buckhout says, let's go Sandpoint. We're going to talk about them real soon. Sam says, sorry, dog ate my homework. No good, Sam. We need you in tip-top shape here. And here's Jeb Harrison in the chat. Coach Ryan Fleischman deserves a ton of credit for his ability to keep that program together at Century and play the long game. Most coaches would have bounced, but man, that sure does speak highly of Coach Fleischman. This is his second stint as the Century head football coach as well. He coached him in the mid-2000s and then came back. He and honestly, between what he's doing with football and what Meg Fleischman has been doing with volleyball and girls basketball at Century, the Fleischman, couple, Sean, has really been, keeping the programs really going.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably going to take my job at coaching tennis. I mean, they've done it all. They're vested in it. They have kids. They have young kids in the programs and stuff, so they're vested in it. And you have to really credit them for stepping up and filling in those roles. And obviously, tremendous coaches, but willing to come back into that coaching arena. You have to kind of tip your hat to them.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun at Century for sure. Let's take a look at
did the Amazon guy just show up at the Baney household?
No, I don't know. There might be a fly flying around in my house or something. My dog was trying to get after it, so I might check on things. Let's get to the Friday Night Flash. What's going on in 5A football this week? We have to start with Thursday night, guys, where we have Pocatello.
You and mouse bleach if the hat is still up.
Yeah, right. Okay, we have Pocatello and Sandpoint meeting in a neutral site game at my beloved University of Montana in Missoula. I am a Missoula native. I am a Montana Grizz diehard. Guys, I'm wearing my old school hat from the 90s. This is what the Grizz logo used to look like. You can see it there. The old copper hat there.
Magical.
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun game. Sandpoint's 4-0. This is honestly, Pocatello's 1-2, but I think Sandpoint actually comes in with more pressure in this game. As counterintuitive as that sounds, because hey, 4-0, and then you lost to Pokey. What happened? These two teams have had some epic battles over the years. Last year was that crazy game, Sean, where it was like
49-48 or something.
Yeah, something just crazy back and forth. Sandpoint missed the playoffs or got into the playoffs last year, but didn't get far. Pocatello. Both of these teams are used to being at the top of their conference and had to take a back seat to other teams last year. And so this is a big measuring stick game for each of these teams, a neutral site game on Thursday night. I will be there broadcasting it for IdahoSports.com. Should be a ton of fun. Let's go now, though, to the Friday schedule of games here for 5A football. We have Lewiston playing Bothell, Washington. We talked about Blackfoot and Madison, Burley and Preston non-conference game. Yes, I know. Emmett and Skyview, Gooding, Mountain Home, Hillcrest, and Skyline. I'm sure somebody's going to talk about that game. Homedale, Jerome, Idaho Falls, Bonneville, Nampa, Bishop Kelly, Post Falls, Lakeland, Ridgeview, Columbia, Shelley, Century, Twin Falls, Canyon Ridge, and that Service Academy game, and then Valley View and Caldwell. I might have to zoom out so all the games can fit on the screen there. Okay. Ryan, give me the game you're most excited for.
Since I chose Lakeland versus Post Falls last round, I like your Thursday night game. I'm going to steal your game from you. That Sandpoint Pokey game is going to be fun. The vaunted Sandpoint offense. I mean, they're leading categories. Top of the heap, Braden Buckhout's thrown for 924 yards on the year thus far. I mean, that's just insane, gaudy numbers. They've got 2 top 5 receivers in Maverick Gomez and Yarborough. I mean, they're studs. I mean, there's offense galore, and then Sheets running the ball behind him. He's leading the state in points right now. That offense gets cooking. I would say if there's any Achilles heel for the Bulldogs right now, it could be on the defensive side of the ball. They are letting teams score a little bit. So, I mean, but that's a Knowles coach team. I mean, that unit's going to get coached up. I mean, he's not going to let that slide too long. But just the ability that they've had to be flexible on the offensive side of the ball and kind of open the playbook up to fit the cast of characters they have this year. We've seen in years past them go run heavy based on who they have. And then this year, I mean, they've kind of opened it up and they're taking the lid off things, which has been insanely awesome to see just because you're getting some pretty ridiculous numbers out of your athletes. But Pokey's coming in. I mean, Jeb's giving us some good stuff in the chat too. But yeah, that matchup has historically just been a great game. And I don't expect anything different. I think Thursday night you could have a shootout realistically at U of M on the turf. That's going to be a fun game in Washington Grizz. That's a good night right there.
No doubt. Yeah. Kevin says Sandpoint lost that game last year going for the 2-point conversion for the win, did not convert. So Pocatello won that by 1. And then here's Jeb in the chat. Pokey a little bit on the struggle bus this season. Last week versus Black, but they had 4th and 52 and 1st and 45, committing too many penalties to win. Yeah, there are a lot of sophomores on that Pocatello roster this year, especially on the offensive and defensive lines. So their development is going to be critical. They've got Tavin Williams who can run the rock. Isaac Allen's a new quarterback this year. Hunter Cordell, tall receiver. They like to throw the ball too, but big measuring stick game for sure. Sean, what is the 5A game you're most excited for?
I mean, no surprise, right? Hillcrest versus Skyline, right? I'm going to be there with Joel. We got to preview it a little bit. I've got to talk to Coach Mossholder from Hillcrest earlier this week, and I'll get around to talking to Skyline too. But these teams have played 4 times in the last 2 years. That's usually not the case, right? They're 2-3 in the standings. It's going to be a phenomenal game, and I think Coach Mossholder kind of pointed out the glaring kind of matchup. Skyline's going to blitz, and Hillcrest hit their one-on-one matchups. And when he said that to me, I was like, wow, you must be a good coach or something. But it was very, very blatant. It's very obvious. You've got really good matchups. You got Tyson Sweetwood, one of the best to throw the ball, I think, in Idaho. And he's very versatile. You got Skyline, has Zion Crockett, who can just turn a game around on a flip of a switch. I think it's just going to be a really good game. It's at Hillcrest. They're excited to host it at that new field. I see this being it's a big game early in the season, right? These are two teams that played for the 5A championship last year, and you don't want to go too far forward. But wow, what a great matchup to have the rematch of the state championship live on IdahoSports.com this Friday with me, which is an added bonus. But I'm just excited. I'm excited to see the defense versus offenses, what I'm feeling like. Skyline's offense a little different looking this year. They've run a couple different quarterbacks. Hillcrest has kind of got the same cast of characters in the offensive arena, but Skyline's defense is legit, and they're going to blitz a ton. And I think it's going to come down to who, what kind of adjustments we made. We saw the adjustments made earlier in the season when Skyline won, and in the state championships, Hillcrest made some adjustments and won that game. So it's going to be, the players are going to do a lot. The coaches are going to be real busy. Just fantastic matchup.
Yeah. The two quarterbacks, both juniors for Skyline, John Giannini III and Cooper Thomas, both can run with the ball, both can sling it. And then you mentioned Zion Crockett for Skyline. What I noticed at the Rocky Mountain Rumble when I did Skyline's first game of the year is they basically kind of said, okay, Zion Crockett is going to be, 20 high impact plays. And how do we divvy up those 20 high impact plays? That ended up being like 10 rushes, a couple of kick returns. He came in and played defense in a couple of critical situations against the other team's best wide receiver. So it's kind of like he's been on a pitch count a little bit, and they want to deploy him kind of strategically. And so I'm fascinated to see how that continues to evolve, and if that pitch count gets higher as the season goes along. That's something I would keep an eye on for Skyline. And then for Hillcrest, when the season started, I had a 5A coach tell me Hillcrest is like here, like 3 laps around the track, and then it's everybody else kind of on that first lap still. But to me, I don't know. I think it's closed a little bit. They've had some close encounters the past couple of weeks. And so I'm really intrigued to see how this game goes. Skyline, of course, won last year in the regular season, won the league title. Hillcrest got them back in the state championship game. So agreed. Cannot wait for that game. The game I'm going to hone in on, guys. I talked about this a couple weeks ago when Century played Burley. And I said these two teams have kind of been right around the cut line the last couple of years in terms of making the playoffs. This will be a big Max Preps game. Same thing with Burley and Preston. I mean, these two teams have not started the way they wanted to. And so this is a game where you could look at it and go, okay, whoever wins this game might be that number 15 seed, might be that number 14 seed in the 5A playoffs. And whoever loses this game might be one of the first teams out. So that's the game I'm keeping an eye on, Burley and Preston. So, okay, now here's Jeb in the chat. Lots of 5A coaches now talking about playing for second after BK's win over Rigby. Yes, that was certainly an eye-opener. Bishop Kelly is back in action against Nampa this week. And so, it'll be really fun. And then, is Canyon Ridge for real? We've heard a lot of buzz about it. This is your chance against Twin Falls in the annual Service Bowl. Really cool game where the two schools wear kind of militarized uniforms. It's got camo and blue and red, kind of the service colors. It's a really cool deal there in Twin Falls. So, okay, that's what's going on in 5A football this week. We'll take a break and come on back. Sneak peek of what's going on at the 4A. A lot of games to talk about, including a couple of top 5 matchups. So don't go anywhere. Gem State Game Day will be back right after this on IdahoSports.com.
Once again, we have contributed to your ideal college savings program. Love, Grandma and Grandpa.
Ideal. Eventually, they'll appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. I love it.
College costs money.
Welcome back to Gem State Game Day on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. Brandon Baney here with Ryan Scaggs and Sean Kane, breaking down the 11-man action ahead of week 5, believe it or not, almost to the midway point of the high school regular season. This is the homepage, IdahoSports.com. Let's go to the conference standings in football. And let's check out what's going on at the Class 4A ranks. Intermountain League, Moscow, Bonners Ferry, Timberlake. I saw Timberlake last week. They are missing their best running back right now, Weston Herbert, and their best offensive and defensive lineman, Archer Higgins. And oh, by the way, he's also the kicker. So Timberlake a little banged up right now, 0-4 behind it a little bit. Moscow's 3-1, stubbed their toe in the season opener, but they have gone 3-0 kind of quietly since then. And Bonners Ferry is kind of the mystery box team, still 2-2 there. Sugar 3-1 over in District 6, lost for the first time this year to Star Valley from Wyoming last week. Jeb on last week's show said, hey, if Sugar beats Star Valley, you can pretty much call it. Sugar's winning the 4A title again. So I'm not glad that Sugar lost. I'm glad that now we can, okay, it's not so declarative. We can say maybe another team could still win over Sugar in that 4A competition. I think there's still some really good teams at the top. South Fremont's 2-2. Teton is 1-2. Over in District 4, Buell is 3-0. Kind of quietly, they beat Declo last week. It was a huge win for the Indians. Filer's 2-1. Kimberly's 2-2. Kimberly lost by a touchdown to Homedale. They had the lead in the fourth quarter. Homedale rallied back to get the conference win there. Remember, Kimberly's 2 losses have come to Fruitland and Homedale. I mean, no shame there. And then the Snake River Valley Conference, speaking of, Fruitland's 3-0. Homedale's 3-0. Payette is 3-0. Cole Valley Christian lost for the first time last week to Nampa Christian. They're 2-1. McCall Donnelly is 2-1. I saw McCall Donnelly last week on IdahoSports.com. I was very impressed. This league is a combined 3-6-9, 10, 12, 14-4. That's pretty good work. And then in District 5, Southeast Idaho Conference, Snake River is 1-0. They beat Bear Lake in the conference opener, but American Falls has the best overall record at 3-1. And Sean, you will notice.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes.
Just going back to the Snake River Valley Conference.
Yes.
Payette has not given up a point this year.
Correct.
Yeah, look at the defense in that conference. That is flipping wild. I mean,
Yep.
Good grief.
Yep. 0 points allowed by Payette. Sean, I wanted to get your thoughts. And I know you guys talked about this on the East Idaho Prepcast, but Marsh Valley, after 2 games, pulling the plug on the varsity football season. So no longer in the Southeast Idaho Conference in the independent JV schedule portion here, joining Wendell. Wendell's another team that folded on the season this year. That's a bummer that they did not have enough numbers at a school like Marsh Valley's size.
Yeah, Marsh Valley, traditionally pretty much always has a team, and I guess they had some injuries and just not enough players to go the full schedule. And I know it was it was tough because like someone was playing Marsh Valley and it was their homecoming. Now they don't have a game. So now it's a scheduling kind of nightmare kind of here in East Idaho. If you had Marsh Valley on the schedule, now you're looking for another game, or if you didn't, it's kind of, those things are kind of tough. I feel bad for those seniors at Marsh Valley. I mean, they had quite a few seniors actually, but it's tough, and hopefully they can get the numbers up again. But yeah, kind of disappointing. But they've had a lot of kids move out of that area and go to different schools and things like that. And it's kind of desirable, right? It's a 4-day week in Marsh Valley. I mean, I know kids like that, but tough sledding for the Eagles, not being able to complete a season.
Yeah, it's a bummer for sure. A couple of comments here, guys, and then we'll move to the actual schedule of games. Our good friend Max Oswald from the Bonner County Daily Bee up in Sandpoint. Here's a stat line for you. Bonners Ferry's Keenan Moss, 50 carries, 395 yards, 5 touchdowns in last week's 42-39 loss to Northwest Christian. I believe that's a new school record up there at Bonners Ferry. 50 carries. That's
a season's worth of work in one game.
That's like 50 plays is like a team would be happy if they got 50 plays, right?
And I want to ask Max how many snaps he played on the defensive side of the ball too. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. Get him a Gatorade.
Yeah, he was in the ice bath afterwards for sure. Here is Doug Swanson from East Idaho. He would know. Rigby was down several starters, and the QB, Jacob Flowers, had a rough day, threw a couple picks. I think BK is good, but don't put the banner on them yet. I'm inclined to agree. I think Hillcrest, Skyline, maybe even Blackfoot would have something to say about that. Here is Jeb. South Fremont has got to be the most confusing team ever. They beat Westside at home and scored 34 points on Westside. Nobody scores 34 points on Westside. Then they get beat by West Jefferson by multiple scores. Tell me a couple things. Number one, West Jefferson is better than they get credit for. I agree. They're running that wing T and running it well. I thought they ran the ball extremely well against South Fremont. South Fremont struggled to move the ball efficiently against West Jefferson in a game they should have had. Doug Swanson says agreed there. So, and let's see. Max says Bonners Ferry ran 87 offensive plays last week.
Okay.
Wow.
And he only had 50 of them. All right.
Yeah.
Something to shoot for.
Yeah,
like I said, I want to know defensive snaps. That's the one we got to hit up coach for that one.
Well, wasn't that efficient, I guess. So.
Yeah, wow.
Okay. And here's Jeb. Sean, see if they play tennis in Marsh Valley, Sean.
They've had players try to do a co-op. I won't get into that, but that's a whole nother issue. But there are some good tennis players in the Marsh Valley area. One was an assistant coach for me for a couple of years. So there's some tennis in Marsh Valley. There's a clay court in Marsh Valley, by the way. But anyways, continue.
Yeah. I was going to say in a co-op, Century would be the closest school to them, you would think. But anyways, back to the homepage and back to the Friday Night Flash, where, again, we'll check the Thursday night action first. I don't think there's any 4A games on Thursday. In fact, there are no more Thursday games to talk about. Fantastic. We can just stay locked in on Friday. Here's what we got, guys. A lot of non-conference games. Teton is going to play Basalt, not Bath Salt, Basalt, Colorado. They're going to play them in Rock Springs, Wyoming, meet in the middle game. Bear Lake's going to play Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Bonners Ferry is going to take on Lakeside, Washington from 9 Mile Falls, just across the Washington border. And then we get into the actual games here. Buell is hosting American Falls, should be a fun one. Conference game, Wood River at Filer. Mountain Home's going to be at Gooding. McCall Donnelly going to make their second consecutive trip to North Idaho. They were at Timberlake last week. They're at Grangeville this week. Jerome's going to travel to Homedale. Kimberly hosting Sugar Salem. They went to Sugar last year on Sugar's homecoming and got the walk-off win on a field goal by Eddie Paz. Marcine and Payette, Moscow and St. Mary's, Nampa Christian and Fruitland, South Fremont and Snake River, Timberlake and Kellogg, and Weiser is going to host Pendleton, Oregon, the Buckaroos. Scaggs, give me a game you're looking forward to here at the 4A level.
I like that Buell American Falls game. You get the offense of Grigg and Lopez and Hernandez from American Falls going against Dallas Price and Azevedo for Buell. That's going to be a nice matchup. I mean, two teams that really have high aspirations this year after kind of a breakout last year for both of those schools. And, there's a lot. I mean, this is a max preps game. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you get a win. That's going to be a nice lift with the ratings there. And if you lose, it's not necessarily going to be a huge drop because of the strength of schedule of getting that game, especially before you walk into league play. But I think it's going to be a great ball game Friday night. Get those two clubs that are high playoff aspirations going at it. And I'm also saving the game that I really wanted to pick for the next round. But I think this one could be a really, really great ball game. And I'm also leaving one teed up for Sean because I kind of assumed I knew what he was going to pick.
Yeah, just real quick. Zay Zielinski says Lakeland versus Post Falls, go Hawks. Doug says West J has some football family magic happening. They spent more time on football this offseason than I've ever seen. So good data point for our 3A discussion coming up here in the next segment. Sean, where are you going to go with the 4A schedule here?
Well, I mean, Jeb kind of took some of my steam. I thought the South Fremont Snake River game is super interesting. Both teams come in, and I was going to say kind of the same thing as South Fremont's a head scratcher with that West Side win and then losing, and then Snake River, getting in the win column last week. Both teams give up more points than they've scored. So I find that very interesting. Snake River at 1-3 and South Fremont 2-2. I just find that matchup kind of interesting. And then I'm going to give you two because I care. Sean cares. And I think, obviously, Kimberly Sugar Salem, right? Because last year that was such a a big, news story that Kimberly beat them. I don't know. I don't know what it looks like this year as far as that, but Sugar only did lose by 8 points, but it's still kind of an interesting game, and it's at Kimberly. So I think those two games are kind of what I've penciled in to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, Kimberly, we keep saying one of these weeks, McCrae Bruning's going to be back. They're going to take that club off his wrist, and he's going to be able to play quarterback. And yet 4 games with Titus Osterman, the converted wide receiver, and they're 2-2, and I had the lead against Homedale late last week. So for a kid who never played quarterback before, he's doing okay. But Bruning will come back at some point. Is it this week? Possibly. And that changes the whole complexion of the game a little bit there. So other games, I would shout out. I would say Nampa Christian hosting Fruitland's going to be a fun little crossover game, certainly. I think Filer and Wood River, loser of this game, is going to be really behind the 8 ball a little bit. When you look at the conference standings, this is Wood River's third year now competing in the 4A classification. They have the enrollment of a 5A school. They did make the playoffs 2 years ago, but they are 0-2 to start this year. Filer is 2-1. And so even though Filer's 2-1, a loss to Wood River would significantly hamper the good progress they've had so far. Keep in mind that their wins are over Wendell, which no longer has a varsity program this year, and Parma, which is struggling. They did lose to American Falls only by 2 scores, 26-13. So Filer has to keep it going against Wood River is what I would say for that 4A slate. But obviously, go ahead.
One note, too, if Sean gets a pick, too, I'll pick 2. My second game, I'll take this Timberlake-Kellogg game. And the only reason I know Timberlake's struggling, they're down some players. But getting the band back together. I mean, former conference foes, schools historically that haven't necessarily liked each other too much. It's kind of a black and blue game. I look at this one, you're going to see, kids leave it all on the field. I think both teams are kind of going in a similar direction, unfortunately, just with injuries and everything else. But yeah, I think that Timberlake-Kellogg game could be real fun, just as far as from the aspect of looking at it from days of old, with them formerly being IML opponents.
Yeah, will be a fun one for sure. And then, I'll just give a shout out to McCall Donnelly. I saw them last week. They went up to Timberlake and won pretty convincingly on IdahoSports.com. We talk a lot about Joker Joyce. We talk a lot about Gunnar Newman, the quarterback, Colt Value, the running back. They had a guy, Max Stoddard. He returned to the opening kickoff, 85 yards for a touchdown, made some really big plays as a wide receiver, and that defensive line was ferocious. Marcelo Alvarez at the nose, Newman at the defensive end spot. I'm really intrigued to see how McCall Donnelly does. I think they probably should beat Grangeville this Friday, and then they'll get into the conference, and we'll see where they ultimately shake out there. Wyatt, who has done such a good job for us on Gem State Game Day this year, taking the night off, but still giving us some good info in the comments on YouTube. Tough physical game between Homedale and Kimberly last week. 2 teams that will be playing deep into the year, and Sugar versus Kimberly will again be a very physical game. And then he says, I'm also curious how Nampa Christian looks against Fruitland. They beat a 4A team in McCall and almost beat Declo. And we talked about Buell beat Declo last week in that very close game. They're hosting American Falls. That should be a really fun one as well. So speaking of Nampa Christian and Declo and West Jefferson, we've got a lot of good 3A. This has been the hardest classification to peg. You see it every week in the media poll, the coaches poll. The votes are all over the place. Nobody really knows who to put number 1 in that 3A classification. We'll tell you which games we're keeping an eye on at the 3A level right after this break. You're watching Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
All the way. Go. All the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.
Welcome back to Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com. Coming to you live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. Thanks to everybody for commenting tonight, hanging out with us in the chat. We love it. If you are hanging out with us live tonight, if you could please like, share, and follow. That will help everybody who wasn't able to be here live find this a little easier on replay at any of those great destinations. Brandon Baney hanging out with Ryan Scaggs and Sean Kane. Let's get to the 3A football landscape. Here are the conference standings. In the Central Idaho League up north, St. Mary's 1-0 overall, or 1-0 in the conference, 3-1 overall. I would say they're getting into the rigorous part of their schedule now. They've had some good non-conference wins, but now the level of difficulty kicks up a notch. Priest River is still 1-0 in the league, 2-2 overall. Kellogg's 1-1. Grangeville and Orofino each 0-1. We know how to do it up north here, Scaggs. We're already into conference play, and some teams have played twice.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we started conference play 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, Priest River had to play the cross-border rival last week against Newport, taking the loss. That's a tough Newport team. I'm not selling Priest River yet, but I'm excited. This St. Mary's team, Coach Humphreys, is doing such a phenomenal job with this group, and I'll talk more about them here in a minute. But yeah, this conference is looking pretty wild right now, and Kellogg was kind of my early preseason dark horse, and I know that they've had some injuries and some pretty key positions for that group, but they're still scrapping away. Grangeville, I don't know what's going on right now. Priest River almost seems like they broke them for a week. Hopefully they can right the ship and show up this week against McCall Donnelly, but that's a tough task for that Bulldog team. But they're not out of the mix, obviously, yet either. There's a ton of league season ahead, but things are getting real interesting really quick within the conference and the CIL.
Yeah, well, it's just take that and apply it to every other conference statewide.
That's right. Yeah.
Nuclear conference, the nuke. Nobody's played a conference game yet, but you've got North Fremont and Ryrie on this collision course. They're both 4-0. North Fremont is 4-0 with 4 wins over 4A schools. They have punched up 4 weeks in a row, and they are 4-0. Very impressive with first-year head coach Jason Wright, formerly the defensive coordinator. Ryrie, the running Bulldogs. They love running that double wing set. Their goal is they did it last year. Both of their wing backs rushed for over 1,000 yards. They're trying to do it again this year. They're 4-0. West Jefferson, look out. The Panthers of West J are 3-0. They also run the wing tee or a variation of it. And then you got Firth and Salmon, each 1-3. Firth's taking it on the chin a little bit here this year. Did lose some high-impact players to graduation, but with the nuke schedule still in front of them, they have a chance to make some inroads there. The Southeast Idaho Conference, this is District 4 and 5. Declo beat Aberdeen 2 weeks ago, and that is still the only conference game we've seen so far. They're 2-2. Aberdeen's 2-1. They only lost to Declo. Westside 1-1. Kind of weird. They've only played 2 games so far. A win over Firth, and then that loss to South Fremont. And then we haven't really heard from Westside, so they're kind of hanging out. Malad and Soda each 1-2, and we talked about Soda. Basically, no head coach now. All the assistant coaches are kind of just leading collectively after Colby Fangman resigned 2 games into the season there with Soda Springs. And then the Western Idaho Conference over in District 3, Nampa Christian 2-1, New Plymouth still 2-2. They had that big win over Firth to kick off their season. Marcine, Parma, Melba, all below 500. And then there's Wendell, who playing an independent and JV schedule. They actually played Grace last week, an 8-man team from Idaho there. So that was kind of interesting. Grace got the victory over Wendell. That's why they are 0-4. And if we look at the Friday Night Flash, guys, here's what we've got on tap. Ryrie traveling to Aberdeen. Melba's going to play Declo. Priest River's going to play Kettle Falls, Washington. Firth at Malad. Payette's going to be at Marcine. We talked about some of these 3A, 4A crossover games already. St. Mary's at Moscow, Fruitland and Nampa Christian. Orofino is going to make the trip south to play New Plymouth. You've got Timberlake and Kellogg, Parma at West Jefferson. West Side is going to play Star Valley. That Star Valley team that Sugar Salem just found out, life's pretty tough. And then how about this guy? Salmon is going to host my alma mater, the Stevensville Yellow Jackets from Montana. This is a great opportunity for Salmon to get a win. My alma mater, very bad at football lately. So,
Wow.
Big opportunity for Salmon. So, here is Jeb in the chat. He says, guys, Westside has had a hard time getting games with Marsh Valley canceling. even harder. I think West Side has to play Star Valley this week, which is borderline questionable because Star Valley is so much bigger. I know Coach Moser is really smart and Coach McKay Young at Star Valley is too, but this is a little bit questionable because of the size discrepancy. I'm sure everything will be fine. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely concerning. He said West Side also picked up Snake River, which is not on the schedule on Idaho Sports. Thank you, Jeb. I will get it in there as soon as the show is over because, guys, with Marsh Valley canceling their schedule, with Wendell canceling their schedule. Those were two of the teams that was on West Side's schedule when the season started. You do have to get a little creative with the scheduling there, and that's why you see West Side playing Star Valley. That is going to be an interesting game. Star Valley probably going to win that game, and West Side's just hoping they can get out of it healthy for sure. But Sean, give me a 3A game you're looking forward to.
Man, I find the Aberdeen-Ryrie game really intriguing. Aberdeen 0-1 in conference. I know they're not in the same conference, right? And Ryrie 4-0, and Ryrie's only given up 6 points per 4 games, 6.25. I think it's pretty crazy, and they're scoring 43 points a game. And Aberdeen kind of in a situation where I didn't think they would be in 0-1 in the conference. I think this is a big game for both these teams. I think it's maybe almost a must win for Aberdeen, and Ryrie wins this one. I mean, it's really going to set up a huge matchup between North Fremont when that comes up. But yeah.
North Gem, another team that just loves to run the ball, by the way, in football. So, Scaggs, you got a 3A game you got your eye on?
I do. Yeah, that St. Mary's Moscow game I think is pretty intriguing. You get the vaunted offense from St. Mary's. I mean, they're lighting it up in the stat columns week in and week out thus far. And Moscow comes into the game 3-1. St. Mary's comes into the game 3-1. Moscow came off a big win over Pullman last week in their little border rivalry there down there on the Palouse. And it's a big win I think for both teams. One, it's going to help. It's going to help St. Mary's, I think, more than it helps Moscow, obviously. But that's a nice lift in the rankings. But I mean, you just look at kind of play styles and everything else. I mean, it's going to be a wide open affair. Both teams like to open it up offensively. So you could expect to see Coach Humphrey, find the deeper doldrums of his playbook to pull rabbits out of his hat. And that's a game. If you want to see trick plays, that's probably the game to go to this weekend. But both those teams coming in, Moscow's been bitten by the injury bug this year. We've talked about that at length in the North Idaho Prepcast, but I think it's going to be a fun game. I really do. I mean, I look at that one of all the games for me to keep an eye on. Just the play style in that game is going to be a really fun affair. And both coaches do such a great job. I mean, that's the one thing we've seen Moscow turn around in a hurry with Coach Bayfus is doing such a great job there, especially with some youngsters. He's got a lot of youth, a freshman quarterback that's been able to really step up and play. And St. Mary's has been able to show up. The Bardas are doing phenomenal for that club and year out running the ball. I mean, they're able to just, put points up in a hurry. So expect to see quite a few tutties on Friday night.
Yeah, and the game I'm excited about, guys, is this Marcine-Payette game. Will somebody finally score against Payette? That's the big question.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Payette has defeated Parma 41-0, New Plymouth 20-0, and Nissa, Oregon 44-0. This is going to be the toughest team they faced so far in Marcine. Yeah, Marcine's 1-2. They lost to Coal Valley Christian and Ryrie last week 41-0, a win over Wendell. This game is going to tell me a lot about each of these teams and where they stand, respectively. Marcine was the second best team in the 3A Western Idaho Conference last year. And Payette was a team that started hot and then faded when they had to start playing Weiser and Homedale and McCall Donnelly and that gauntlet. So I'm really intrigued by that game, certainly. And, of course, I'll keep an eye on Stevensville, my high school against Salmon. I'm not confident, but you never know. I don't mean to sidetrack here, guys, but I just, as I was looking at West Side's schedule and correcting it. Here's Hayden real quick in the chat. Maybe you guys already hit on this. Is Nampa Christian a sleeper versus Fruitland? Tall task, but they seem legit this year, or am I crazy?
Both.
Yeah, it can be. They're not mutually exclusive, Hayden. It can be both things. No. Fruitland definitely favored there. I am very high on this Nampa Christian team. I think Nampa Christian has to basically match Fruitland's offense score for score, and then find a way to get a takeaway or two if they want to, pull off the win there. But
they're going to have to ball control because Titus Vidlak can throw it all across the field. I mean, he's going to throw until his arms fall off as if, Nampa Christian's not getting stops. But they're going to have to play defense with their offense too, I think, to slow Fruitland down. I really do.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I don't want to sidetrack our 3A conversation, but as I was fixing the West Side schedule and adding the games that they've added to their schedule, I did notice on Max Preps, which is the official, place where the playoff seeds get determined through the state of Idaho. Marsh Valley, of course, canceled their varsity season. They canceled the game with West Side last week. On our website, we just said, okay, the game was canceled. West Side guys, look at this. They put it in as a 21-0 victory via forfeit. There's been some confusion about, okay, if a team forfeits, what do you put in as the score? What's the Max Preps formula? What's the maximum amount of points you can quote unquote win by?
Isn't it 2?
No. Well, I thought it was 15. But now this year I've had some coaches say it's 21. That's obviously what West Side did, a 21-0 win via forfeit. Is every team that Marsh Valley was supposed to play? Are they going to do that? Is that what's the protocol here? That could have some significant impact on Max Preps rankings. I would love to hear what people in the chat think about that too. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting. Yeah, I mean I don't know how that. So if it counts as a forfeit, do you get the same amount of points in Max Preps as if you would have just played that game?
Yeah, so like if you win 50-0, it stops it at 21.
Okay.
And that's what Timothy Parrish, the great voice of the St. Mary's Lumberjacks, says as well. I've heard 21 also. Okay. I just think okay, everybody that was supposed to play Wendell and Marsh Valley, you're just going to get a 21-0 win. I don't know.
I don't know if I like that.
I don't know. I don't know if I like that either. I wish Wendell and Marsh Valley could have just kept playing, to be honest, but
is that a state-to-state thing? Because I was looking at previous scheduling of teams playing from out of state. Basalt, Colorado won a forfeit game and it was 2-0. So that's why I asked if it was 2. Is that a state-to-state thing then?
I don't think so. The Max Preps formula is supposed to be the same for every single state. Idaho can't go and say, hey, we want you to do this. Max Preps says, here's the formula. And well, they don't even say that. They say, here's the number our formula produced, and you will not ask any further questions.
Because Teton's playing a team that picked up a forfeit this year, and then it was 2-0 in the scorebook.
Yeah, there's not really any guidance on this. So Hayden says, I'm with Scaggs. I thought it was 2-0, but no clue. Yeah. And then here's Jeb. Max Preps is all a secret. Who knows? I don't know.
No, you got to have the typo in there. Who know we?
Yeah, who know we? Interesting food for thought. We'll keep an eye on it as the season progresses, but that could impact things significantly down the stretch here.
Because I will say this too in defense of Hayden, when Orfino had to forfeit games in the last couple of years, it was a 2-0 win in the column. I'm fairly certain in that effect. So that's why I was asking. But,
well, here's my thing is in Idaho, you are allowed to play 9 games. That's the maximum. If you are West Side and you lost games with Wendell and Marsh Valley, and they're both in there as forfeit victories, and then you picked up games with Star Valley and Snake River. Yeah. Okay. Now is your schedule more than 9 games? Like, how does that
drop the forfeits now and only pick up the games that you actually
you played? Right. That's my bigger concern. Yeah, the point differential. It would be nice to have some clarification on that, but like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're still going to have, and if they added the Wendell game back in, they would have 9 games, I guess. So it's kind of a moot point, but I don't know. That's just something else to consider. Like, it would not be fair if they all of a sudden had like 10 or 11 games and everybody else only had 9. Of course, it's going to boost their Max Preps ranking. So I don't know. Interesting. Just food for thought. Just something I randomly noticed as we were talking about this West Side team. So anyways, on that note, guys, let's wrap up the show here. Back to the homepage, IdahoSports.com. Get your Gridiron game picks in, guys. It's right here at the top of the homepage, the Gridiron game picks. This is our weekly contest where you compete against the experts from IdahoSports.com. Last week was our week 4 competition. And for the first time, somebody from the public at large won, Chris Roper, with a grand total of 47 correct picks. Hayden Eulencott was the top IdahoSports.com personality, 1 game behind at 46. Joel, your East Idaho counterpart, Sean, was 10th overall.
He needed a win. He needed it.
He did.
He did.
Yes, he did.
did.
He will admit that.
Scaggs fell to the back of the pack a little bit, 17th after winning the first couple of weeks.
Come on, that's a tight pack. Come on now, be nice.
that's Wyatt Helmet number 20.
I'm low this week.
Where are you, Brandon?
I'm down here with Scott Burton. Me and Scotty both at 40, 7 games back of Charlie Roper. And then, there's Sean Kane all the way down at number 49. You at least finished higher than Paul Kingsbury, and that is, of course, the standard at IdahoSports.com. You got to finish.
I'm still in the top 10 overall, though.
Yeah, that's called the Kingsbury line. Is that what we call that? You got to stay above the Kingsbury line.
Yeah, the Mendoza line. That's right.
That's right.
So here's the deal: you pick every game who you think is going to win. If you are the high winner for the week, you get $25 from IdahoSports.com. If you are the grand winner for the entire season, you get $100 grand prize. So all you have to do is, again, it's right at the homepage, IdahoSports.com, Gridiron Game Picks. You go to Submit Edit Picks. You got to log in. There's my login. Okay, weekly contests, and then week 5, select and edit picks. And then it brings up every single game, and right away, Aberdeen and Ryrie. I'm going to go with Aberdeen. You click the team you think is going to win, and then your pick gets locked in. And that's how you do it. The IdahoSports.com Gridiron Game Picks. And also, before we go, I want to show everybody right here. This is also going to be your best friend on Friday night. Game streams. This is where you can tune in to the live games that we will be broadcasting on Friday night. What do we have coming up this week? We've got that Thursday night game between Sandpoint and Pocatello, of course, at the University of Montana. And then we have 6 games for your viewing pleasure Friday night. Highland and Thunder Ridge, Lakeland and Post Falls, Mountain View and Cuna, Preston and Burley, Skyline and Hillcrest, and Sugar Salem and Kimberly. That is a loaded schedule, guys. My dog is loving it.
Yeah, not a bad game to pick, and you get a Thursday night game, because sometimes Thursday night games aren't all the they're not that great in other divisions of football, but Sandpoint Pocatello, I think that's a phenomenal Thursday night matchup.
I'm excited to be doing that IEL After Dark game where all the Mountain Time games get over, and then we get kind of the spotlight for the last hour of the night.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. So those are the games we're broadcasting this Thursday and Friday on IdahoSports.com. And with that, before my dogs totally revolt and turn on me, let's wrap up the show. Sean Kane, thanks for stepping in late and pinch hitting. We really appreciate it.
Not a problem. I felt good about it. I felt like we'd put in the work and the effort to be ready to do this tonight. So as an overall team, we feel good, and I'm just glad we could be here.
Ryan, are you just here so you don't get fined?
No, I was the one that brought Sean on, and now I immediately regret texting him. So
I mean, we're not really fining Ryan. He's getting paid. He won 2 weeks in a row. We're paying him. It's like a reverse fine.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and donate all the money from the team that wins me the most games this year. I'll just go ahead and give their booster club whatever I win. Yeah,
there you go. That's a good reinvestment.
Pancake breakfast on Ryan.
That's right.
Yeah, sounds good. Hey, you might be wondering, hey, how come you guys didn't talk about any 8-man games? 2A, 1A. Tune in tomorrow. IdahoSports.com, the 8-man prepcast, where we specifically cover the 8-man game. Myself, Will Henneke, and Coach Lane Kirkland. We dissect all the big 8-man storylines. That is every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 6 o'clock Pacific Time, right on all of these destinations. IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. One last time before we go, please like, share, and follow. That'll help everybody else see this a little easier on replay. And thanks for tuning in to Gem State Game Day. Enjoy the games this weekend, everybody. And we'll see you back here next Tuesday night for another edition of Gem State Game Day on IdahoSports.com.